All right, but let me say welcome to Martin Lupton and to Sharon Stammers uh, from the UK. Tonight they're going to speak to us about women in lighting, particularly, and we are looking forward to that because women today play such an important role in many spheres of life. Sharon is a Master of Science in Lighting, and Martin Upton has is a doctor of uh, he's got his PhD in lighting. Together, they co-founded Women in Lighting, and they've presented many events, light art, traditional lighting, and so many exciting things. And hopefully, we'll hear some of that this evening. So, without further ado, to Martin and to Sharon, very welcome. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you for agreeing to present this evening. And we're really excited about it, especially because it is International Women's Month. So, to everybody, I hope you're going to enjoy it. So, over to you, Martin, and you now may share your screen with us so we can proceed with the evening.
Thank you, Phil. I'm just unmuting myself and turning my camera on, and assuming Sharon is going to do the same. Any second.
Oh,
Here she is.
I am. Hello. Thank you for the introduction, Philip, and thank you very much for inviting us to speak. As you said, we have actually lectured all over the world, but not in South Africa. So, although we're not technically there, this is a first. We're going to start by telling you a little bit about ourselves before leaping into Women in Lighting, just to give you some context of who we are and what we've been up to in our kind of lighting career and journey. So we always sort of struggle to describe what kind of company we are really, Light Collective, because we've done so many different things in our time. But we started about 15 years ago working together. And I think we like to say we're a creative lighting consultancy. It's the best way to describe us. And in that time, we've developed a portfolio of really large scale projects and also really small ones. Martin, are you on slides? Are you changing slides?
I am?
Yes, you are now. He is now.
I am now.
He's woken up.
Sorry.
So this is an image of the large end of the project scale. And it's a shopping centre in Kuwait. And this is just one small area of the shopping centre. And it's an escalator with a ball that you can go up to the cinema level, and every single one of the sort of the squares on the screen are a mirrored video tile that's curved. So when we undertook this project, that was quite a new and innovative bit of technology and very difficult to detail. So just giving you another example, if you go on to the next one. This is a sort of the smaller end of our architectural lighting projects. And this is a private house in Tuscany in Italy, where we undertook the exterior, the landscaping, and the internal lighting. So really, you can just see these two images as examples of our background as architectural lighting designers and the kind of projects that we used to undertake.
As Sharon said, we sort of describe ourselves as a creative consultancy based around light. So sometimes we get involved with projects that use light to create installations that sort of people can interact with, or that achieve a sort of certain goal or a specific goal. This is an installation that we designed that reacts by changing color depending on the data that you as an individual input into it. So it's called my design DNA. And we would ask you 7 different questions about your background, where you're from, what time zone you design in, what profession you're from, and literally all of these 7 questions would stack up, and it would create a very unique pattern in light that we said is your design DNA. We've also been involved in many projects to do with light that we would consider to be activist projects. So that's sort of how the Women in Lighting thing is sort of right up our street. But the image on screen at the moment is an event called Guerrilla Lighting. So the aim of that event was to involve local communities in lighting up their own environment, to get them to learn firsthand how light can change a space, how light can make a massive difference to a space, and give them a vocabulary to talk about light. So what you're seeing in the image is about 40 people. Each one is holding a battery-powered torch. And without the torches on, that road tunnel that you're looking at is completely dark. So what we do is we get them in position, we tell them where to stand, we sound an air horn, all the lights come on, we take a photograph, and then we sound the air horn again, turn all the lights off, and we move on to the next site. That's why we call it sort of guerrilla lighting. It looks really spontaneous, but ultimately it's actually been quite carefully planned out in advance, which is again another sort of parallel we make with the real lighting design process.
And to be fair, sometimes it's got us in trouble.
It has.
Another thing that we've been involved in, which is coming up for its 10th year next year, is an awards program called the Dark Awards, which is a collaboration with Dark Media, who produce Arc and Dark magazine, which are 2 great magazines based on architectural and decorative lighting. They're online as well. And the Dark Awards came out of a bit of reaction to all the very traditional awards ceremonies that there were in the architectural and lighting industry, where we would have to wear black tie and go along for the evening and sit down at a table, and traditionally everyone would come up and get their awards. And we felt that was very divorced from the sort of incredible creativity that we find in the lighting industry. So we wanted to have an event that reflected that. So this event, it happens in London once a year, and in fact it's in a fortnight. We pair up different manufacturers with a design practice, and that team makes an installation, a low budget installation. So it's a test of their creativity on a budget. The designers use the manufacturer's product, and every year we have a theme. So the one in 2 weeks' time is the 80s. And just some of the images on screen are just some examples of a few of the installations. Some of them are interactive. They're always very beautiful, and they always, in general, go on to have another life and be exhibited elsewhere. So this is one of the sort of funnest things we do in the year, because apart from the creative side, then everybody gets together and has a great big party celebrating light.
Some would say it's the best party in the lighting industry, I believe.
Well, we've heard that. We have heard that said.
So this next image, this is from a much newer initiative that we started with an architect in Italy. Traversi Vighi is the architectural practice. They also specialize in lighting as well, but they are architects. And they were given access to a small village in Tuscany. And the commune, the government group that owned that village said to them, here, you can use this village, you can do what you want. Can you do something with light? So we've basically got the keys to the village where we're allowed to turn off all of the lights, all of the ambient lighting, all of the street lighting. And what we've done is set up an opportunity for lighting designers to gather there, 40, 45 lighting designers, and really just experiment with light on heritage facades in a really dark environment. So the idea is to give them a chance to understand what small amounts of light mean on a facade, how you can light a facade but still preserve the night sky. And it happened last year. We did it for the first time last year. It was really experimental, but we had a great turnout of designers. The village is actually, it's a monastery. It's like a walled monastery. It's quite small, but within the monastery there are dormitory rooms for 47 people. So everybody who came to the workshop stayed there, and we were all sort of there as a big group, and it was a really sort of great bonding experience as well as a chance to experiment. We're doing this again this year. We're making it even slightly longer this year because people wanted more time. And that's on the 2nd of October, and we'll be launching the new version of that soon.
So all of these things are just sort of examples, and it will make sense when we get there in a minute, to sort of show you the real breadth of things that we end up getting involved with. And they're always things that we're quite passionate about. So celebrating light with the Dark Awards, celebrating darkness with the event Martin's just talked about. And this event is called Disrupture. And we did the first version of this in Mexico City last year. And this year in 24, we are doing it in London and in Medellin in Colombia. And it's in the title, it's about disruption. So we are now in a period of time where AI and all sorts of other things are coming flying at us, and we're having to decide whether we want to work with them or how we want to work with them. So this event is looking at that kind of technology. We had speakers talking about augmented reality, and the metaverse and neuroarchitecture and all sorts of subjects that we're only just kind of getting to terms with. So this is something we want to explore more. So again, watch this space. If you're in any of these places, we welcome you to come along.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we should say is when we started Light Collective, we realized that we're inspired by more than just light, and we like to really cross-pollinate with different professions and different exciting stuff that's happened. So that's what this is all about.
So the next slide that's up is the poster for a film. You can see the date on it, 2017. All of our projects are about light in some way, and this one is where we wanted to explore the idea of asking why we were all using LED. Was LED the perfect light? So in our lighting lifetime, we've gone from using a huge range of sources of tungsten and metal halide and fluorescent to really now only using the one, LED. So whilst we might not personally think it's the perfect light, and I'm sure that other people don't either, we wanted to investigate that in the form of a film.
So yeah, as Sharon said, what we did is we literally posed that question, is LED the perfect light? And we went and we interviewed designers from all over the world, different cultures, different backgrounds, and we asked them, is LED the perfect light? I'm going to play the next slide for you. Hopefully the audio comes through as well. This is the trailer for the Perfect Light film. It's about 3 minutes long, so it's not too long. So you can get an understanding of what that film was about.
Does it need audio?
Is there no audio coming through?
No. It looks nice though. We can narrate. We can't get everything right.
No, but you can see, so we talked to scientists in America, scientists in the UK, we talked to actual lighting designers from around the world. There's only a couple of them featured in that trailer, but essentially what they were saying is that since Edison introduced artificial light, things have changed very slowly until very, very recently, and we only now really realize what the depth of light is.
And there was also a lot of questions about, we don't understand how LED affects us as human beings because it's something that we've only just sort of introduced to our environments and the natural environment. I think we're starting to understand, but we don't have a long-term view. So this is a picture, an image of all the people we interviewed. There's some very famous lighting designers in there. Cara Mende, Roger Narboni, Andreas Schultz, etc. Very famous. But there's something wrong with the slide. And it's something that we didn't realise. So we took the film. It's available. It's on YouTube. It's on YouTube if anyone wants to watch our bad filmmaking skills. We took the film to lots of different cities around the world and showed it to groups of designers. And when we got to New York, after the showing, I was sort of taken aside, and a group of women asked me, sort of said that they liked the film, but where were the women in it? And that's when we realised that we really had made a bit of a mistake, because we had generally approached the majority of designers, male designers, and only a couple of women we invited to speak in the film.
So that basically led us to start to look at our industry in more detail, because we thought, well, if we've got this unconscious bias, does everybody else have it, or is it just us that's making this horrible mistake? And that, so we looked at it and we realised that despite the industry probably being approximately 50% male female, definitely in the UK in the design practices, we realised that women were massively underrepresented in conferences, in juries, in panels. I mean, this was a photograph we took at Light Fair in the US, and it is all the previous keynote speakers from 30 years of Light Fair, and there's about 3 women in the keynote speakers. But the same was true for judging panels, for editorial panels. So we literally did, you won't be able to see anything on this slide, I'm pretty sure, but we literally did a massive research into lots of conferences, lots of events. And you can see from this, hopefully you can see from this little infographic, that most of the conferences were very, very much male dominated, including one at the bottom there, where it had 42 speakers, and one of them was a woman. So that sort of made us really realize that it was out there, everybody else was having the same unconscious bias, and it led us to want to actually try and lead some change.
So you can see we've got here in a roundabout way. The Women in Lighting project launched on International Women's Day in 2019, and essentially it consists of a really beautiful website, which is designed by a woman, of course, not me. We have a female web mistress, we call her, and it features lots of interviews with women in lighting in different countries, plus blogs and links to interesting reads and all sorts of things, events that have happened. But when we kicked it off, the idea was that we would do some interviews, and we wanted the interviews to look specifically at the women in question's background and their career path, to celebrate their work, discuss their ideas, their feelings about light, and the sort of challenges that they'd encountered in their journey.
Yeah, so the main objectives of the project were really to celebrate women in lighting and to raise their profile, to inspire and encourage them and provide support where we could, and to really just try and change things within the industry. So we also wanted to support any other initiatives that encouraged inclusion and really try and improve the diversity of the industry.
So we started this project, like all our other projects, with lots of enthusiasm and no idea where they would lead. And we had a plan to do 12 interviews and to go out into the world and find maybe 15 ambassadors from different countries who would sort of share the website and to sort of open the discussion that we wanted to start. And basically what happened in the last 5 years is it spiraled, it grew, it was a monster, a brilliant monster. So now the website has, I don't know, 150 interviews on it. I think there's about 90 that we've undertaken ourselves in different countries. And there's at least 120 or so interviews that women have submitted themselves. There's a facility to upload your own interview. We knew we couldn't interview every woman in lighting in the world, so we wanted to find a way to include them. And that can be done in text or audio or a video. And the initial plan of having 15 ambassadors spiraled to. So now at the moment, I think we are on 79 countries and a very big list of sort of supporters and partners from different associations and related fields, educational, schools like BHA. And also very recently, we hit 10,000 followers on Instagram, which in the scheme of things is small, but in the lighting world is big. So we have worked very hard to create a social media presence with the help of Katia at Archifost to get this message out there and to try and change things.
We've also tried to encourage men to stand up and support the project so that they ensure that there's gender equality in their company or any conferences they curate or any other possibility. So basically, because we think that only by working together can we make things better.
So it's become much more than a website. It's become a huge network and an international community. It isn't an organisation that requires membership. We want it to be open and inclusive, and we want it to be something that is continually positive and works for men and women, and just a very, very sort of open way of communicating about light.
So there's been many initiatives that have started locally as well. So a lot of initiatives we've done, but there's also been probably 4 or 5 times as many as that have started on a local basis. So on this slide, you can see top left is a book profiling women in lighting in India that they created. Also top right is another book that was created by Russian women in light to profile women in Russia working with light. The bottom left is that something the ambassador in the UK did, which was essentially a survey, a small survey about women in lighting in the UK. Bottom right is a meetup that was held in the Netherlands. We've then got on this slide, Women in Light in Mexico created a 12-point manifesto for change, which really sort of talked about how everybody can help and get involved and react and make things better in Mexico.
So, I mean, since the project started, there's definitely been lots of opportunities for us to suggest female speakers and really change the balance of that. And I think that that's been achieved. There's a lot of publicity and press about all of these events that happen. And just as Martin says, continually happening everywhere, from very informal meetups to bigger things in social media initiatives or educational. Often there's ones that we don't even know about, and we'll see a picture and go, wow, that looked good in Brazil or wherever. I think one of my favorites was the self-defense classes in the Philippines. There's even more. Anyway, that's got a film.
Meetups in Dubai. The list is really huge, and obviously we can't and don't take credit for any of that. This is sort of people within the community coming together and making stuff happen themselves. So all of these that we've talked about so far, these are sort of face-to-face in real life events. But we've also had lots of initiatives, lots of online initiatives. One thing that obviously happened in the middle of the project was the lockdown, where we were all sort of isolated from each other. And so we worked really hard within the Women in Lighting community to make sure people were connected and stayed together with lots of different initiatives. This is one. Some of them were really sort of fun and informal. This is a t-shirt design competition that we launched. So we launched a t-shirt design competition, and we had hundreds of entries, and we had some judges who picked their top 5. And what we did was then we uploaded them and created the actual t-shirts that you could buy from a print-on-demand store, and we gave the profit from every t-shirt to a light-based charity called Light Reach, which is run by a lady called Natalie Rozzo out of New York. And basically it does lots of different light-based initiatives that help local communities on the ground. Their biggest one was Light in Lebanon. That was the one that they were sort of doing when we started this, helping people in Lebanon after the explosion, and they all lost electricity. So yeah, there's been lots of different little initiatives during lockdown, but there was also one quite big one.
So we started again on International Women's Day. We created an international conference, and we don't like to do things by halves, and we like to include everybody. So this was in 2021, and Martin and I got up very early, went to bed very late, so that we could include speakers from all parts of the globe. It traverses the sort of 3 major time zones. And it meant that different audiences could join at a time convenient to them, and obviously we could have those speakers. So we ran this 2 years, and then changed things up again after that. But as Martin said, we were very keen to connect people together, and personally as well, it was great to be connected to everybody else.
There were quite a lot of people that joined at 6 a.m. in the morning and stayed with us all through the day till 7 p.m. at night, wasn't it? I mean, they must have been exhausted as well. It was a long day. And we have given out awards as well. At the same time, we launched our own sort of Women in Lighting awards program.
And I think this again was a period where it wasn't great for everybody, and the opportunity to highlight and showcase some particular women around the world and the outstanding, incredible work they've done in lighting was something that it was a great opportunity for us to be able to do. These lovely trophies were designed by an industrial designer, Lorena, Italian, I can't remember her surname, I do apologise, but also made by Forma Lighting. And we, instead of us coming up with who we thought was most deserving, we reached out into our big international community, which is a good example of the use of them, for them to nominate who they thought was the most deserving. So we had, that gave us the opportunity to award women like Motoko Ishii, who has over 50 years in lighting in Japan, one of the very first lighting designers. Not a lot of people know her name, so that was very important. And then a whole other selection of women here. That's Natalie from Light Reach, Martin mentioned. Yeah. Then Jen Lewin, the light artist. Manale, who is a Lebanese lighting designer. Mariana, who's well known for her sort of research in light and health. Liz West, which is another famous light artist. Chiara Carucci in Italy, a lighting designer, and she was nominated for sort of supporting other women. And the same, the next slide, Lisa Reed, a lighting designer in America. And I think the next one is Ruth in the UK, again, another supportive designer. So that's just a selection of the women to give you a kind of idea of
also
of who we were awarding. Oh, did we miss out Barbara?
2 on one slide there.
I forgot.
I mean,
Barbara.
the thing we should say, and we haven't mentioned yet, I suppose, at this point, it'd be good to mention Former Lighting, who have been our sponsor for the project ever since we started. And we actually went and we approached them and said, we're thinking of doing this project. Will you support it? And the reason we did that is because they have a female CEO, Sharon McNargy, that's her on the right there with artist Liz West, presenting the trophy. And Sharon literally, without hesitation, said, yeah, this project sounds fantastic. We'll definitely support it. And it's been a real collaboration with Sharon and Former Lighting. They've been an amazing support all the way through, and definitely we've sort of grown together and developed all the different ideas together. And yeah, Sharon's been a fantastic advocate for the project.
Although it's confusing because there's two Sharons.
Yeah, Hong Kong Sharon and London Sharon. And then, so at the end of 2020, the project itself won an award. In fact, it's won 2 awards. This is a Lit Award, and it also won the Lux Award in the UK, which we're obviously incredibly proud of.
So our background is architectural lighting designers, as we showed you at the beginning. And that's kind of where we started the project from. And the very first women we interviewed were architectural lighting designers. That's where we were aiming the project at. And then as it's grown, it's sort of grown to encompass women working in education and research, engineering, science backgrounds, light art and entertainment. And we're going to talk about those in a bit more detail. Basically, all the fields related to lighting, we realised that we needed to and wanted to include them all. So in 2022, we decided to look at women working as light artists. When you Google, I don't know if it's changed now, but back then, when you Googled light artists, you got like the thing at the top of Google was like about 15 guys. And I think if you're lucky, depending on the search, you would get 1 woman. And also, whenever anybody talked about sort of their inspirations as light artists, they were always the big names, James Turrell and Dan Flavin and Olafur Eliasson, of which we have massive respect for and think they are incredible. But we wanted to know about all the women that were working out there as light artists. And this sort of revelation that there were many of them and they were sort of unsung heroines, led us to creating this a book about them.
Yeah, so the book was launched in November 2022. Yeah, that's right. And we did a limited edition launch. We printed 400 copies, and that was done in conjunction with Former, and they were given away to people who attended an event that, again, we'll talk about again in a minute. But the book features over 40 light artists from all over the world. It's very, very visual. It focuses a lot on their work and their images. And that was Taiwanese light artist. This is a work of Liz West, one of her very first works. And it was a fantastic thing to produce this book. Like a film, we'd never done a film before. We'd never done a book before. And we literally, again, like the film, we self-published and self-produced this. So we had a professional editor who read it for us. But apart from that, we did all of the work on the book ourselves. We then learned how to work Amazon, and
that was the hardest part of all.
The hardest part of all is how to upload a book on Amazon so that you can buy it as a print-on-demand book on Amazon. But it's there now, and you can buy that all over the world just by going onto Amazon and searching for Collected Light. We also did a digital version, an ebook version, which you can buy direct. And all of this you can find on the Women in Lighting website. So it's in all the different Amazon stores around the world. And there's a link also to buy and download the ebook version, which looks incredibly beautiful when you view it on an iPad or something with a really good screen resolution. It's a lovely, lovely collection of photographs from some amazing artists.
But then what we did next is we decided that maybe the book wasn't just quite enough. And we decided to curate and put together an exhibition of light art by women light artists. And we investigate again. We're sort of always going out in directions unknown and learning as we go. And it worked out that it was easier for us to buy some light art. And so that's what we did. So we ended up with a selection of pieces that we added to. The works were shown in London. We had a couple of lent pieces alongside the ones we bought. And then when the exhibition moved to Milan about 6 months later, alongside with Forma again, we purchased another couple of artworks. So there's a selection of them on screen. We had Jacqueline Henn. This is Chyla Berman in the UK. The next one, Kate McMillan, Australian artist who also wrote the foreword to the book. Tamar Frank. This is a real test of my memory because the names aren't written down. I'm just saying.
This is Tamar Frank, and this was when
Tamar Frank, yeah.
installed it in Italy. This is a number of, it's like 4 pieces of a really limited edition work that she did. This was a new one that we added for Milan. It's a neon work by an artist called Kate Hush with an incredible sort of backstory to it, really emotional story to it. And she created that work specifically for the project. When we said we wanted a piece for the project, she created that one for us. This is a work by Carolina Halatek. This is probably the most immersive of the works we've got. It's and
the most difficult to install, maybe.
Difficult to install, the most troublesome with the smoke. We installed this in London and in Milan. It's probably the most popular though, in terms of selfies. Everybody loves to take a photograph in this. And this was another work that was added to the collection for Milan. This is by Liz West, artist Liz West, called Her Warm Reflection. And what we haven't got any images from, but has just happened, is that there's been a third iteration of Collected Light, and that was in Hong Kong, with 3 of the original artists and a lot of new Asian artists. So Sharon's from Forma Lighting, who's based in Hong Kong, has out and made that happen.
I just want to go back to the Liz West piece because I feel like everyone should know that we actually installed it. So that was another huge learning curve where the artwork was sent. Liz doesn't really give instructions. It's more like don't put the same thing next to each other in terms of size and height and color. So that was an incredible challenge for Martin and I personally to set up this artwork.
He had white gloves and socks, so we didn't scratch it.
We have no photos of that though, sorry.
No.
Okay, so having done the Global Gathering event 2 years running as a conference, last year we decided that instead of doing something where we gave information to the audience, we wanted information from the audience, from the community. So we undertook a huge global survey. And our aim was to try and gather a really comprehensive impression of the lighting industry, both in terms of where it was thriving and where it possibly needed to improve in the area of gender equity. And the hope was that the results would provide a valuable contribution to the profession as a whole. And we called upon the community to assist, with the questions initially, and then B, in answering them. And we asked a lot of questions. Some people said too many in the comments, but it was looking at everything from part-time working, where you work, how you work, your background, your age, your policies in the office, etc., etc. So
So we got about 800 responses from this. I mean, it was absolutely incredible, the response to it. It was open to all. Male engagement was lower, but still nearly 30%. We covered 73 different countries we had responses from. So you can see on the diagram on the right, there was a lot of responses from the GB, the US, from Italy, from India, from Germany, and then obviously as the circles get smaller, they're the countries with fewer contributions. But it was a lot of data, and so you can see on screen, just scrolling through the actual spreadsheet of data that we ended up with, and you can see that it was massive. We did ask too many questions, I think. And we're not data scientists. We're not even close to data scientists. So we thought, we were like, oh my God, how on earth are we going to handle this huge array of data? But we did sort of handle it. We looked at each question in turn. We took the data from each question and drew it into charts so that it was basically a bit more understandable. So it was a lot of data that we turned into effectively a lot of graphs. A lot of graphs. You can see that there is a lot of graphs. So what I'm going to do is I thought I'd quickly share a couple of I'd share one of my favorite ones with you. But what we did, we hoped that drawing them into graphs would make them easier to understand. And we did this one I'm going to share with you. It's the one that I like the most in a way, because I think it's sort of insightful, it's personal, and it was very easy to look at in a number of different ways. So we asked participants in the survey to rate themselves across a range of skills and quality on a scale of 1 basic to 10 advanced. So the skills were creativity, scientific knowledge, artistic ability, technical skills, supportiveness, IT and computing, organization, and public speaking. So what's pretty good is that the lighting industry, the lighting profession, is relatively confident in its skills because everything was above 6.5 in all areas. So, and as I said, we're not data experts, but somebody once told us that data is better if you intersect it. So by that, I mean, you don't just take, here's the overall results, you look at the overall results and you break them down depending on some of the other results you've got. So if we intersect the results with gender, which is the obvious one for us to do, you can see that women tended to rate themselves lower in scientific knowledge, technical skills, IT and computing, and public speaking. Male and self-describing respondents were quite close on 5 out of 8 of the skills, but organization gave us really the highest spread by data, where women are high and others were lower. But still looking at the same response, we wondered, would people rate themselves differently if they're a member of a professional organization or not? So do professional organization members have higher skill levels than other non-members? Obviously, we don't know the answer to that, but they definitely seem to think so, only slightly. So you can see here the intersection is that if you're a member of one or more professional organization, you consistently rated yourself higher than people who weren't a member. So maybe if you want to improve staff confidence, maybe the answer is to encourage your staff to join a professional organization. This was my personal favorite and a bit of tongue-in-cheek really, but it is the oldest question since the beginning of time, or at least since we had personal computers. What is best, Mac or PC? So in terms of the skills of the people rating them, it's pretty consistent. Mac users rate themselves higher in creative, artistic skills, and PC users rate themselves higher in the technical stuff. Maybe you could have predicted that. But if you do want the ultimate employee, you should look out for Linux users. And they're literally rating themselves 9 on 4 out of the categories, all the technical stuff, but they rated themselves incredibly low on the supportive emotional stuff. So don't be looking for support from them. And then we also looked at how the size of the company affects your perception of the skills. Generally, it didn't separate much, with the results being pretty close across all areas. The only exception was artistic ability, where we've got the broadest spread of responses. This element shows that there's a distinctive trend of artistic ability being rated higher in smaller companies and decreasing as you head towards the large companies of 51 to 100 plus. So are we going to do any further analysis? Hopefully we will do. But the other thing is, if you want to do it yourself, you can ask us and we'll share the raw data with you. It's all totally anonymized. We didn't get any sort of personal data from anybody deliberately, and we can share it in chunks with you. So if you tell us that you want to look at people's most important goal compared to gender, compared to country of origin, compared to age, etc., we can share those data snapshots with you, and you can go ahead and break that down. As long as you share the data back with us, that would be quite useful. So you probably won't have long to look at this, but this QR code will take you directly to the report about the survey. If you want to find it, it is on the Women in Lighting website anyway.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think now
that was
you
my
can...
long section about data, Sharon.
I think
I'm
you
going to take a little break now.
Can now say that you are a data analyzer.
No.
I mean, I'd like to say I'm a formal light art installer as well. Anyway, so basically you can see the project's gone in all different directions. And one of the other directions it's gone in is a move into entertainment lighting, which is a world I started my lighting journey in many years ago, but have not been part of since. Another manufacturer approached us called Ayrton, a French company, and they basically wanted to partner and help move the project into their part of the industry, because there is a very small amount of women. So there's very few female designers, technicians, women in manufacturing and sales, etc., etc. So it's a space where the project really had some work to do. So we went with the same model of doing interviews initially with different women working in TV, stage, concert, theatre, opera, etc., etc. And we also have been to various trade shows around the world that are very different to the architectural ones. There's been meetups and events. We have partnered with a lot of the organisers in order to get some women on stage. We're still at the point where they say you can have 1 or 2 slots. And we say, yes, we'll take it, but maybe there'll be more in the future. And this has grown. This has been 3 years now. So this is something that's growing. Next week, we're going to be in Frankfurt at Pro Light and Sound, where we have a stand that Ayrton have designed for us. And one speaker this time. Only had 1 speaker, but we'll still take it.
Last year we had 3, didn't we? So
I know, we've been downgraded. But the next slide is an image of the little stand we had last year. And we like this image because it's a stand full of men on the Women in Lighting stand. We had a little booth built into the stand where we did some interviews on the show floor. So that was really good, because we got to meet people, drag them into our little space, and then chat to them about what it's like to be a woman in this industry. Although most people thought we were mainly selling pink flight cases. But anyway, we're moving on. And there's some of our speakers from last year. And Ayrton have also committed to, we've had an event the last few years in their Paris showroom, which has been a whole day dedicated to women working in light entertainment, which has been streamed live, hasn't it?
Absolutely, streamed live. And we've had like 4 or 5 different speakers throughout the day, different backgrounds, different practices. And then we went on, and from that we had a session at LGI in Vegas as well. So, but the Ellerton Day of Light has been really good, bringing people together in person and streaming it in their showroom. That's happened twice. And from then, we've sort of taken all the lessons we learned about making books, and we've decided to make another book. This one is going to focus on women in entertainment lighting. And we've ended up in this book with over 60 different women featured. They range from lighting designers for theatre, for dance, for opera, for live events, for rock and roll. Even there's a few there from the TV and film lighting industry, even though they are even rarer than sort of theatrical lighting designers. We've managed to unearth a few and include them in the book. And we've got a whole host of different countries, different ages, different experience levels, from people who are really just starting out on their careers up to sort of lots of people with loads of different experience, some of the pioneers of the industry. This is Alita Acevedo. She's a lighting designer in Mexico. This is Amy Deluxe. She's a lighting designer in America. Anna Turi, you can see I'm just showing you the first few pages because they're in alphabetical order. Anna is in Brazil. And what we've done in the book is we've split the focus. So the focus is on the person. We've had a little mini interview with each of them, asked them all the same questions, so you can see how different people respond to those. But we've also got a little bit of focus as well on their projects and the things that they've worked on.
And I guess when we finally figure out how to get this one on Amazon, and when we're finished, it'll be it'll be available as well.
I'm hoping it'll be easier this time, Sharon.
Oh, I hope so. So we've just celebrated 5 years of the project last week at the Light Building Show in Frankfurt, and we had speakers and we had ambassadors from all around the world, and it was a really nice celebration of all the things that those people have achieved, or what they've managed to do in their countries in terms of creating a community. I think it's really important to say it's a huge project. It's very hard to manage. It's one of the things we do amongst all the other projects that we work on, and from country to country, things are different. So in obviously gender equality in the UK is very different to Pakistan, to Italy, to Iran, etc., etc. And although that might go without saying, I think it's important just to point it out, because there are, we're talking about struggles in the lighting industry, whereas there are many women that are struggling in every aspect of their life. So we've learned a lot, and we've learned a lot about local culture and politics, and trying to understand all of these things has been part of building the project. So I think if we're sort of drawing to a close.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say, Sharon, people do often ask how they can get involved. So maybe it's worth giving them a list of the ways they can get involved.
I was just laughing at how our last slide has got a pregnant lady in America and then a baby from an event in Sweden. It's quite nice. We welcome the children. I've seen a few names on the chat from people I would say that are part of our community. I think there's even one ambassador on there. Newbie,
I think so.
Yes. Hello. How could you be involved in the project? Well, you can submit your own interview on the website if you're female or identify as female. You can join as a supporter. You can just pledge your support and be part of it. Sign up for the newsletter. There's a general one and there's a specialist one for the entertainment industry, because a lot of the information we share globally is quite architectural based, but we try and sort of make sure that we're aiming things in the right direction. You can contact your local ambassador and see what they're doing. Follow them. A lot of them have their own social media accounts. You can follow the general overall social media account, Women in Lighting, on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Come to an event, come to something international, start an event. Just basically connect in some way.
I think it's important to reiterate what you said at the start as well, Sharon, that the Women in Lighting is a project. It's not an organisation. It's not a membership community. We're open to everybody in lighting. So if your background is in lighting, you work in lighting in some way, then get involved, upload your interview, as Sharon said, and join the communities.
So I think that we might have come to our time with spectacular timing there.
Accuracy.
Very well done.
Accuracy, yes. Thank you.
Yeah,
Very well done.
There's a list of how to contact Light Collective as well.
Okay.